Beloved, let me begin by asking you this question. Have you ever wept so deeply that you wondered if joy would ever return? Have you ever walked through nights that seem endless, storms that felt unrelenting, and valleys where your very soul was crushed under the weight of sorrow? Some of you are sitting here today or listening right now with hearts that still carry the age of disappointment, betrayal, or loss. You have cried behind closed doors. You have prayed with trembling lips. You have wondered if God even heard you in those dark hours. But hear this truth with every fiber of your being. God is opening a chapter of joy. After your season of tears, the author of your story is not finished. The ink of His mercy is not dry, and the next page is filled with light that your present darkness cannot comprehend. When you cried, God counted every tear. When you felt abandoned, He was closer than your own breath. The very moments when you thought your pain would consume, you were the very moments God was preparing a breakthrough. Your tears were not wasted. They were seeds planted in the soil of faith. And God does not allow the soil of your suffering to remain barren. There is a harvest of joy, and it is nearer than you think. For every tear that has watered the ground of your life, God has written a promise of restoration. For every sleepless night, He has marked a dawn of rejoicing. For every broken dream, He has prepared a future beyond what your mind can imagine. The enemy wants you to believe that your season of tears defines you. He whispers that the pain is permanent, that the scars will never fade, that your life has been reduced to fragments. But God declares something greater. God declares that the scars are not the end, but the evidence of survival. They are proof that you passed through the fire and were not consumed, that you walked through the flood and did not drown. The hand of God sustained you when your own strength failed. And because you endured, because you refused to give up even in your weakness, God is ushering you into a chapter of joy that no force of darkness can close. Some of you have lived years under the shadow of sorrow. You have carried wounds from relationships, from failures, from betrayals that cut deeply into your soul. You may feel as though the story of your life is one long lament. But let me tell you today with conviction, the pen is still in God's hand. The next chapter is not sorrow, but not defeat, not despair, but hope. Your tears have been temporary. Your grief has been a night season. But God has promised a morning of gladness. Morning always comes, whether the night wants it to or not. And God Himself is commanding the dawn to break over your life. Think of how many times in your life you thought it was over. Yet here you are still breathing, still standing. You thought you could not survive that heartbreak. Yet your heart still beats. You thought you could not endure that disappointment. Yet your feet are still planted. You thought the loss would destroy you, but it refined you. This is not by accident. This is not by chance. This is the faithfulness of God at work in your story. And the same God who preserved you in the tears is the same God who will lift you into joy. Do not let your past tears chain your future joy. Do not let yesterday's grief steal tomorrow's laughter. God is not only able to heal the wounds of your past, but He is willing to restore the years you thought were lost. The God who created time can redeem it. The God who spoke galaxies into existence can rewrite your story. What seemed wasted will become fruitful. What seemed broken will become whole. What seemed hopeless will become a testimony of His power. Some of you need to hear this. The pain you endured was preparation. The sorrow was shaping you for strength. The valley was building a foundation that the mountain could not. God allowed your tears not to destroy you, but to deepen you, to draw you closer to Him, to purify the desires of your heart. And now that the preparation is complete, He is turning the page. The tears you once shed will water the laughter you are about to embrace. The nights you thought were endless are giving way to mornings of clarity and peace. God has seen your faithfulness in suffering, and He is faithful to reward you with joy. When God opens a chapter, no one can close it. When He declares a season of joy, no enemy, no betrayal, no circumstance can shut it down. People may try to remind you of your past tears, but God is rewriting your future. Circumstances may look impossible, but God specializes in impossibilities. The enemy may throw accusations, but God's word is final. He has decreed that your sorrow is ending and your joy is beginning. And what God has spoken, no power in heaven or on earth can overturn. You may ask, but how will I know this joy is real? How can I believe when the pain still lingers? Listen carefully. Joy from God is not the absence of pain. It is the presence of His peace in the midst of it. It is not the denial of tears, but the transformation of tears into testimony. The joy God gives is not shallow, not temporary, not dependent on circumstances. It is a joy rooted in His eternal presence. It is a joy that says, though I weep, I am still held. Though I stumble, I am still carried. Though I do not see the full picture, I trust the one who holds the pen. Do not measure your future by your past. Do not think that because you have cried for years, you must cry forever. God is not bound by human timelines. He can change your story in a moment. One act of His favor can reverse years of sorrow. One touch of His hand can heal wounds you thought would never close. One word from His mouth can bring life to what you thought was dead. God does not need permission to bless you. He does not need circumstances to align. He simply decides and it is done. And He has decided that your season of tears is giving way to a chapter of joy. This message, beloved, is not just for your ears. It is for your heart. Receive it not as mere words, but as divine truth. Your tears have not been ignored. Your pain has not been overlooked. God has recorded every moment, and He has promised that joy is coming. You will not cry forever. You will not suffer without purpose. You will not remain in the valley of sorrow. God is lifting you. God is restoring you. God is opening doors that were once sealed shut. And behind those doors lies a joy so abundant, so overflowing that your past tears will pale in comparison. Your new chapter is not written in the ink of despair, but in the ink of divine promise. It is not filled with shadows of yesterday, but with light that cannot be dimmed. Walk boldly into it. Lift your head, straighten your shoulders, wipe your tears. God has declared it. The chapter of joy has begun, and nothing can stop it. Beloved, hear me now with every ounce of faith you can muster. Your tears have not been wasted. Those nights of sorrow, those lonely hours when your heart felt crushed beyond repair, those groanings too deep for words, all of them have been seen by God. Not one tear slipped down your face without His knowledge. Not one cry escaped your lips without his ear bending close. Do not think for a single moment that your suffering has gone unnoticed. God has kept record, and he is faithful to reward you with a joy that will not only replace your sorrow, but will overflow beyond measure. For God does not merely restore, he multiplies. He does not only heal, he makes whole. And he does not simply close a painful chapter. He writes a glorious one that eclipses everything that came before. You see, the very tears you cried were not signs of weakness, but evidence of endurance. Each tear was a testament that though your spirit was pressed, it was not crushed. Though you were struck down, you were not destroyed. Though you walked through valleys deep, you were not abandoned. And this is the very proof that God has preserved you for this moment. If he allowed you to reach this day, after everything you have endured, then surely it means he has prepared something greater than you could ever imagine. The valley was not your home. It was a passage. The sorrow was not your identity. It was a season. And seasons, beloved, do not last forever. God alone ordains their beginning and their end. Some of you right now are standing at the threshold of a divine turning point. For too long, you have carried burdens that weigh down your soul. For too long, you have lived under clouds of regret, disappointment, and betrayal. For too long, you have convinced yourself that sorrow was your destiny. But let me tell you with the authority of word that sorrow is not the final chapter of your story. God himself is lifting the pen and declaring a new season over your life. What once was covered in tears will soon be clothed in laughter. What once was buried in despair will soon blossom with joy. The author of creation is rewriting your narrative, and your future is radiant with promise. I tell you this truth because so many people have accepted their tears as permanent. They have built homes in the valley of despair. They have decorated the walls of grief and resigned themselves to a life of sorrow. But God is calling you out. He is saying, "Rise, for your time of mourning has passed. Step out, for your mourning has come." And when God calls, you cannot remain seated in sorrow. When he declares joy over your life, you must respond with faith. Do not hold on to your tears when God is handing you laughter. Do not cling to your sorrow when he is pouring out his peace. The next chapter cannot begin if you are still rereading the last one. Your story is not defined by what broke you. It is defined by what God is building in you now. Do you not realize the pain you endured has enlarged your capacity for joy? The wounds you carried have made your soul more sensitive to healing. The nights of weeping have only intensified the sunrise of gladness. When God brings joy after sorrow, it is not ordinary joy. It is a joy born from the ashes, forged in the fire, and unshakable by the storms of life. It is a joy no one can steal, because it is rooted not in circumstances, but in God himself. Some of you may say, "But my sorrow has lasted so long. My tears have fallen for years. How can joy find me after so much?" Beloved, remember this. God is not bound by the limitations of time. He is the one who holds eternity in his hands. 1,000 years to man are but a day to him. What feels like endless waiting to you is only a moment in his eternal plan. And when his appointed time arrives, what he releases will be so overwhelming that it will redeem every year, every month, every moment you thought was wasted. In one divine moment, He can reverse years of sorrow. In one act of His power, He can restore decades of loss. In one word from His mouth, He can silence the voice of despair and fill you with songs of deliverance. Let your faith rise. Lift your eyes from the tears of yesterday to the horizon of tomorrow. God has already decreed joy for you. The ink has already dried on the page of your destiny. The season of sorrow has served its purpose. It humbled you. It refined you. It taught you dependence. But now God is saying enough. Now He is saying it is time. Now He is commanding a shift in your spirit, a transformation in your heart, a renewal in your soul. This is not wishful thinking. This is divine reality. Do not underestimate the power of God's hand to change your circumstances. Remember, He is the one who turned the barren wilderness into rivers. He is the one who transforms mourning into dancing. He is the one who exchanges garments of heaviness for robes of praise. He is the one who commands the night to give way to morning. If He can command the sun to rise each day without fail, do you not think He can command your joy to rise again? If He can breathe the galaxies into existence, do you not think He can breathe life into your weary heart? The problem is not whether God can. The question is whether you will believe. Will you dare to trust that joy is your portion? Will you dare to let go of the sorrow that has defined you? Will you dare to lift your face toward heaven and say, God, I am ready for the next chapter? Because joy does not simply come to those who sit in despair. It comes to those who rise in faith. It comes to those who prepare their hearts to receive it. It comes to those who believe that God's word is greater than their pain. Beloved, I sense so strongly that someone listening to this has carried grief for far too long. You have lived as though your life ended when tragedy struck, as though your story was over. But when betrayal cut deep, as though your purpose was buried, when loss came knocking. But God is resurrecting your hope. He is calling forth your joy. He is reminding you that your story is not over. The chapter of tears is closing. The chapter of joy is being written. And when God writes, He writes with abundance, with purpose, with glory. Do not let despair silence your laughter. Do not let pain steal your promise. Do not let fear blind you to the light, breaking over your life. God has not brought you this far to abandon you now. He has preserved you through the valley to bring you to the mountain. He has kept you through the night to bring you into the morning. And beloved, the morning has come. This is not just another message. This is a prophetic declaration for your soul. Your tears are numbered, and their count has reached its end. Your sorrow has expired, and its season is complete. A divine exchange is taking place even now. God is removing the ashes of grief and replacing them with crowns of joy. He is taking the heaviness from your shoulders and wrapping you in garments of praise. He is lifting the burden that has crushed you and filling you with peace beyond understanding. Beloved, let faith grip your heart today. Stand tall even if your knees still tremble. Lift your head, even if tears still blur your eyes. Smile again even if sorrow whispers in your ear. Because the truth is greater than the lie. The promise is stronger than the pain, and the word of God is final above all else. A chapter of joy is not a possibility. It is a certainty. It is not a dream. It is reality, and it begins now. Beloved, let me tell you plainly. When God opens a chapter, He does not write with ink that fades. He writes with eternal authority. Your story is not slipping through the cracks of time. Your destiny is not dangling by a thread. It is secure in the hand of the one who commands the universe. The season of tears you endured was real. It broke you. It humbled you. It tested you. But it was never meant to define you forever. It was a bridge, not a home. And now the same God who allowed you to pass through the valley is calling you into the meadow of joy, the garden of peace, the river of laughter. Do not be surprised that your tears lasted as long as they did. God does not rush the seasons, for He knows what each moment must accomplish in your soul. The winter must be cold, so that the soil can rest. The night must be dark, so that the stars can shine. The sorrow must run its course, so that when joy arrives, it does not arrive shallow. It arrives rooted, unshakable, and eternal. Your tears were not without purpose. They were watering seeds you could not yet see. They were softening the soil of your heart so that joy could take root more deeply. And now, because of those very tears, your joy will not be fleeting. It will endure. Listen to me. The same lips that trembled with prayers of desperation will soon tremble with songs of thanksgiving. The same hands that were heavy with grief will soon be lifted high in praise. The same eyes that poured out rivers of sorrow will soon with the light of gladness. This is not my promise to you. This is God's promise. He has declared that mourning may endure for a night, but joy comes in the morning. And that morning is not far from you. The first rays are already breaking through the horizon. Some of you have been asking, but why did I have to cry so long? Why did my heart have to break so many times? Beloved, sometimes God allows the breaking so that He can rebuild you on a foundation that cannot be shaken. Sometimes He allows the sorrow so that He can teach you a depth of compassion you could never know otherwise. Sometimes He allows the night so that when the morning comes, you will treasure it like never before. Pain carves deep places in us, but those same places become reservoirs for joy. Without the night, would you appreciate the sunrise? Without the storm, would you honor the calm? Without the tears, would you understand the weight of laughter? Let me speak boldly to your spirit. Your identity is not your sorrow. Your identity is not your failure. Your identity is not your wound. You are not defined by what broke you. You are defined by the one who is healing you. God is not labeling you by your tears. He is preparing to crown you with joy. Do not call yourself forsaken when God calls you chosen. Do not call yourself forgotten when God calls you beloved. Do not call yourself broken when God is calling you whole. Think of it this way. Every tear you shed was like ink on a page. But those pages were not the ending of your book. They were the preface. They were setting the stage for the story God is now unfolding. If the tears were that powerful in shaping you, imagine how powerful the joy will be in completing you. If the sorrow was so deep, imagine how vast the laughter will be. God never subtracts without multiplying. He never allows pain without preparing restoration. He never permits loss without arranging gain. You may have thought the night would never end, but even the darkest night has a limit. No storm rages forever. No winter lasts eternally, and your tears, as overwhelming as they felt, had an expiration date set by God Himself. He has declared over you, "This far you have come, and no farther will sorrow." Beloved, the expiration date of your grief is now. The chapter of tears has closed. The ink of sorrow has dried, and the fresh page of joy lies open before you. But I must tell you this with love and truth. Do not drag the ashes of yesterday into the garden of tomorrow. Do not rehearse the pain when God is trying to teach you a new song. Do not cling to the memories of sorrow when He is flooding you with hope. Too many people sabotage their joy by clinging to their tears. They refuse to let go of the familiar ache, even though God is offering them unfamiliar gladness. But you, beloved, must be bold enough to release the pain, to lay it down at the feet of God, to say, "I will not carry this sorrow into my tomorrow." For when God opens a new chapter, He does not ask you to edit the old one. He asks you to step forward, to turn the page, to walk by faith. Joy is not meant to be analyzed. It is meant to be embraced. It is not meant to be explained. It is meant to be lived. It is not a concept for your mind. It is a reality for your heart. Lift your head. Square your shoulders. Breathe in the air of a new day. The heaviness that has lingered is lifting. The shadow that has hovered is fleeing. The door that has been closed is opening. God is saying to you now, "Behold, I make all things new." And when He makes it new, it is not patched up. It is not halfway restored. It is brand new. Joy that is untainted by yesterday's pain. Peace that is deeper than yesterday's chaos. Strength that is stronger than yesterday's weakness. Beloved, the chapter of joy is not just a promise. It is your inheritance. It belongs to you because God Himself has spoken it. And when God speaks, creation bows. When God decrees, the universe obeys. When God declares joy over your life, sorrow has no authority to remain. Beloved, lean in closely because this moment is sacred. God is whispering to your weary heart, "Your sorrow is not forever. Your mourning is not your identity. Your tears have reached my throne, and I am writing joy into the very fabric of your future." Do you hear it? Feel it. Heaven is not silent about your pain. Heaven has moved on your behalf, and the chapter you are about to enter will not comfort you. It will overflow. It will overflow. It will overwhelm. It will cover every barren place of your life with abundance. Let us not pretend sorrow is easy. Tears are real. They stain our pillows. They blur our vision. They weaken our knees. But never forget this. Tears are powerful when they fall before God. They are not wasted. They are collected. They are stored in the vessel of His remembrance. And at the appointed time, God pours out joy in proportion to every tear you have shed. You may have thought your weeping was weakness, but in reality, your weeping was worship. Each cry was a declaration of faith, that even in your brokenness, you turned to the one who could heal. Each sob was a confession that though the world failed you, God never did. And because of that, your tears have become the ink with which He is now writing your joy. I tell you the truth, beloved, a joy after sorrow is always deeper than joy that has never known pain. When you have tasted despair and then tasted hope, the hope is sweeter. When you have walked in darkness and then walked in light, the light is brighter. When you have been crushed and then lifted, the lifting feels higher than the mountains. That is why your next chapter will be unlike any season you have ever known before. It is joy refined, joy matured, joy anchored in the unshakable faithfulness of God. And here is something I want you to hold tightly. Joy is not simply laughter on your lips. It is strength in your bones. The joy God gives will sustain you when storms rage again. It will anchor you when life trembles. It will silence the accusations of the enemy. For the joy of the Lord is not fragile. It does not crack under pressure. It does not dissolve in trials. It does not vanish in difficulties. This joy is eternal, unmovable, undeniable. And once God writes it into your story, no man, no devil, no circumstance can erase it. But I must speak plainly. You cannot enter the chapter of joy, still clutching the chains of sorrow. You must release the grip of yesterday's pain. You must stop rehearsing the wounds of the past as if they define your future. God is saying to you now, let it go, lay it down. Hand me your grief, your regrets, your unanswered questions. Let me carry them, so you can walk freely in the joy I have prepared. If you carry yesterday's ashes into tomorrow's garden, you will trample the flowers He is trying to make bloom. Release the ashes. Let Him crown you with beauty. Some of you feel disqualified from joy because of your mistakes, your failures, your regrets. You believe sorrow is all you deserve. But God is not giving you joy because you deserve it. He is giving you joy because He is merciful, because He is faithful, because He delights in lifting His children. Do not insult His grace by believing you are too broken for joy. You are not too far gone, not too damaged, not too late. The God who brings rivers into deserts can bring laughter into your life again. Beloved, imagine it with me. A life where the tears of yesterday no longer weigh you down, where the pain of the past no longer haunts your steps, where the bitterness of sorrow has been replaced with the sweetness of joy. This is not fantasy. It is your destiny. God has already written it. He has already declared it. He has already promised it. And the one who promised is faithful to fulfill. Lift your head. Do you not see the horizon glowing with the first rays of dawn? Do you not feel the heaviness lifting off your shoulders? Do you not hear the sound of laughter rising even from the depths of your soul? That is not imagination. That is the Spirit of God awakening you to the truth of what is coming. Your mourning is ending. Your night is passing. Your sorrow is bowing. And joy, glorious, radiant, overflowing joy, is stepping onto the stage of your life. So walk into it boldly. Do not crawl into this new season as though you are a beggar. Walk as a child of God, whose Father delights to bless. Walk as one who has been carried through the valley by divine hands. Walk as one who knows that the pen of your story belongs to the author of eternity. And let your life testify. Yes, I wept. Yes, I suffered. Yes, I thought it would break me. But God wrote joy where there was once sorrow, and He lifted me higher than I ever dreamed. Beloved, this is the truth. Your chapter of joy has already begun. Receive it, live it, rejoice in it, and let every tear you once shed become a fountain of testimony that God is faithful. Beloved, let me speak to the deepest part of your heart. Your life is not over because of the tears you have shed. Your destiny is not diminished because of the pain you have endured. Do you understand? The very sorrow that tried to bury you has become the soil in which God is planting a greater future. The tears that soaked your pillow in the midnight hour were not wasted. No, they were sacred offerings laid before the throne of heaven, and God in His infinite mercy has gathered every one of them. Not one drop has fallen unnoticed. Not one cry has risen unheard. Not one groan has been overlooked. The God who sees all, the God who knows all, the God who reigns above all. He has declared that joy will follow your tears. You may have felt abandoned in those lonely seasons. You may have thought your prayers bounced back from the ceiling unanswered. You may have even questioned whether God cared. But hear me clearly. The silence of God is not the absence of God. His quiet was the preparation of your answer. His delay was the maturing of your blessing. His patience was the weaving together of a story so magnificent that when the joy arrives, it will leave you speechless. Beloved, God was not ignoring you. He was orchestrating a future that required the tears to water it into life. And now comes the declaration. The season of tears has completed its course. It has carved out depth in you. Depth of joy is about to fill to overflowing. The sorrow has hollowed out a space in your heart, and God is pouring His gladness into that very place. Where you once felt empty, you will feel abundance. Where you once felt broken, you will feel whole. Where you once felt despair, you will feel unshakable hope. That is the power of the God who turns mourning into rejoicing, who transforms ashes into beauty, who replaces heaviness with praise. But let me tell you this, beloved, with holy boldness, do not look back. Do not chain yourself to what God has already broken. Too many lives shackled to their past tears, dragging yesterday's sorrow into today's joy. But God is saying, behold, I do a new thing. Will you not perceive it? The page has turned. The chapter has shifted. The author has written joy into your script. Why would you reread the chapter of sorrow when God is inviting you to experience the chapter of laughter? Why would you rehearse the words of grief when He is placing a new song of praise upon your lips? Your sorrow may have convinced you that joy could never return. But joy is not gone. It was waiting for its moment. Joy has been standing at the threshold of your life, waiting for the command of God to step in. And that command has been spoken. Heaven has issued the decree. The gates have been opened. Joy is now flooding into your life like a river. Unstoppable, uncontainable, undeniable. Let me give you a fresh insight. Tears do not diminish your strength. They amplify it. Do you not realize that you are stronger now than you were before the tears fell? Every sorrow you endured trained your spirit to lean harder on God. Every disappointment you faced pushed you deeper into His presence. Every loss you carried enlarged your heart to hold more of His love. So when joy comes, it will not come to a weak soul, but to a soul refined by fire, strengthened in battle, and matured in faith. The sorrow did not break you, it built you. And now the joy will not simply bless you, it will crown you. Do not be afraid to embrace this joy. Some of you fear joy because sorrow has been your companion for so long. You fear that if you laugh again, the tears will return. You fear that if you hope again, disappointment will strike. But hear me, this joy is not fragile. It is not a fleeting moment. It is not dependent on circumstances. It is anchored in the eternal promise of God. The one who brings this joy is the same one who holds the universe in balance. Do you think His gift is flimsy? Do you think his promise is unstable? No, beloved, his joy is eternal. His promise unshakable, his word final. And let me speak even deeper. God's joy is not just about your ladder. It is about your testimony. Your story will be a living witness to others. The people who saw you cry will see you rejoice. The ones who whispered about your downfall will watch your rising. The very lips that predicted your end will marvel at your new beginning. Because when God opens a chapter, it is not only for your blessing, it is for his glory. Your joy will be proof of his power. Your laughter will echo his faithfulness. Your testimony will draw others to believe that if God could do it for you, he can do it for them. Beloved, let me remind you of something powerful. The night is always darkest just before the dawn. The tears are often heaviest just before the breakthrough. The sorrow often feels endless just before the joy bursts forth. That is because the enemy knows what God is about to do. He tries to convince you to give up just before your season shifts. But do not quit now. Do not give in to despair now. Do not surrender when you are on the edge of victory. Hold on. Stand firm. Keep believing. Because God's word will not fail. His promise will not falter. His joy will not be delayed. Lift up your spirit, beloved. Let the chains of sorrow fall from your heart. Step boldly into the joy that has been written into your story. Do not crawl. Walk with confidence. Do not whisper. Declare it loudly. My God has turned my mourning into dancing. My God has written joy after my tears. My God has made me laugh again. And let the whole world know that the hand of God has done this. And it is marvelous in your eyes, beloved. This is your moment. This is your season. This is your chapter. And it is written not with the ink of sorrow, but with the ink of joy. Step into it and live as one who knows that God never ends a story with tears. He always ends it with glory. Beloved, let me leave you with this truth burning in your spirit. Tears may have filled your nights, but they do not own your future. Sorrow may have walked beside you for a season, but it cannot follow you into the next chapter. God himself has drawn a line. And beyond that line lies joy unspeakable, peace unshakable, and strength unbreakable. Lift your heart to heaven and declare with confidence, I am not who I was in my season of tears. I am who God says I am in this chapter of joy. Let the sorrow fall away like old garments. Let the grief loosen its grip. For God has written laughter where there was once mourning, and he has decreed gladness where there was once despair. This here's time. This is your morning. This is your chapter. Walk into it boldly. Rejoice in it fully and live in it completely. For the author of your story has spoken, and his word is final. Your season of tears has ended, and your chapter of joy has begun.